When you see this coronavirus, right, going around the earth, right? When you see this coronavirus going around the earth every day, all around the earth, right? Does that not make you think, right? Do you remember the biggest world crash in the world, right? The biggest world crash in the world, right, was when Europe went bust after the Celtic Tiger came. Call it the Celtic Tiger or whatever, blah. But when you actually see the world right within this current crisis, this particular time, well, after this happens, ladies and gentlemen, right, what the world needs to see, right, what the world needs to see, there's the world there, right there on my finger there, right? But when you see the world, right, within the world, right, when the corona, as long as it takes, right, as long as this takes, right, you remember when the euro, we all remember when the euro came in overnight like that, right? We all remember the euro when it came in overnight, right? But the world's economy is going to change dramatically overnight. All governments in the world, after this epidemic across the world, right? Across the world, all of this epidemic that's happening across the world, COVID-19, right? Or whatever they want to call it, coronavirus. But when you actually read between the lines, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when all the governments giving out all this money, all of us, like, eventually the governments in the world will claim bankruptcy and they'll have to start again across the world. All governments will have to start again. And this is where they'll bring in the new currency, the new peseta, as they'll call it. God knows what they're going to call the new money. God knows what they're going to call it. But all governments across the world, right, have to basically, after all, when this crisis is over, because they're spending that much money to save people every day of the week within this coronavirus, COVID-19, as is commonly known, right? With this flu epidemic that's actually killing people across the world, right? And it does exist, right? And people are saying, oh no, it's not, right? But in the end of the day, when this all goes away, governments in the world won't have any money in their pots. They have to get loans and loans and loans and loans and loans across the world to cope with all the mass deaths across the world, right? This is the only reason the governments in the world are telling you to stay in. This is real news. This is why the governments in the world are telling you to stay in. Because if you catch this, like, you might die, right? You might get better, right? People are saying it's a load of crap. It's not. At the end of the day, when the new currency comes in, when all governments in the world go bust, there'll be new money across the world. Across the world is here, say, right? It's going to be there. Anyway, but when you see the new world, right? The world is changing beneath our feet every day of the week. If you understand that, right? When the euro came in, right? And when the world joined Brexit, the European Union, England left the European Union, and when all this crisis is gone in the next couple of months, as long as it takes to get rid of this crisis, right, all governments across the world will eventually claim bankruptcy, and they have to go back to zero, and they'll bring in new currency. The euro will be eventually gone. The dollar, the pound, the yen, all the money across the world will be eventually gone. There'll be one world. There'll be a one world currency. Right? This is not only my predictions, right? But when you actually read between the lines of life, I've seen it over my lifetime. The euro changing, going into the pound. I remember the pound, but we were part of the Commonwealth originally in Ireland, right? The common money, the Commonwealth was the pound was part of England, the pound or whatever. And then we went into euro. Overnight, bang, the euro came. That was the biggest world crash in our lifetime. And with all bankers across the world, eventually they're getting that many loans out. They're getting that many loans out across the world today. Right? All governments across the world will have to go bust. To go back, all the money in the world will eventually go back to zero. All the money in the world will eventually go back to zero. This is not a conspiracy. This is going to be fact, because all the governments in the world are getting loans out to cover this COVID-19 epidemic across the world, right? And there will be new money in the world stage very soon. So if there's not, don't blame me, because this is what I've been told by certain people across the world. What our bankers, and they know, right? When you see the world, right, you have to read between the lines. When you look at the Cannabis Foundation across the world, people laughed at me when they said cannabis is going to be made medicine in Ireland, and now CBD is being made medicine across Ireland and across the world, and eventually cannabis, the full grade cannabis, will be made medicine in Ireland, and that's when the world crash will happen, right? All bankers across this land, right, will acclaim bankruptcy. All governments across the world will claim bankruptcy, and they'll have to set a new world currency. Just watch this space, because in the end of the day, the new epidemic is coming, the new crash, the new world currency, and it'll be here before 2021. You know, before the end of 2021. Think about it. Just be safe out there, because the most important thing is to be safe, and enjoy all your quarantine, because this is not it's not a COVID-19 is real, but all governments across the world will eventually go bust, and they'll have to mark the clock back to zero, change the new currencies in the world to start again. It'd be like the Celtic Tiger all over again, where people are getting money like that. We'll be all millionaires if things go to plan. Namaste. Remember, all banks have to go bust within this crisis, because they're getting loans by loans by loans by loans by loans. All the governments in the world are getting loans by loans. So eventually it'll have to go back down to zero, right? Just read between the lines of everything that's happening across the world, and namaste. Believe in love and life, and the world is changing beneath our feet. Everything is changing every day. Namaste.